Hello and welcome to We Got a podcast normally about Dragon Ball. From Earth to Jirai to Geminar, we're going to cover it all. My name is Randy.
And I'm Doug.
And I'm Ryoko and Tenchi's baby, Ken.
Oh, cute. We're the world's strongest under the heavens, Choshin, here every other week to dive into all things alien girls, spaceships, and laser swords. Our special bonus series continues. This is the episode where we're going to, tackle more Tenchi. So if you missed it, we did an episode before where we did episodes 1 and 2 of the Tenchi Muyo OVA series. And before that, we had our little introduction to talk about what our history is with the series, as well as a fun interview with Ryoko's English voice actress. So again, if you're just hopping in here, there's a whole bunch of stuff back there. Click up over wherever you can find that has previous episodes. Check those out. You don't want to be missing stuff. So normally we talk about what's new with us, but that's for the Dragon Ball podcast. We're just here to talk about some Tenchi stuff, guys. We're doing episodes 3 and 4 here, and then this is a quick little thing, some context for what is Tenchi. It's an anime series, it's a manga series, it's light novels, it's all of this stuff. Original creators Masaki Kajishima and Hiroki Hayashi, done by Studio AIC. You've probably seen or at least heard of some things that they've done before. We're talking Bubblegum Crisis, Oh My Goddess, Armitage, just a whole bunch of stuff. And it was originally...
Just to jump in here, I'm looking at your list of things here. And I wouldn't be surprised if most people these days tuning in are maybe only familiar with Persona 4's anime. And
that's
I've
why
never
I put
heard
it there.
of El Hazard before. I know I've heard of it, but
right. That's true. That's very true. We've got a list here of them, but it's down here, and I'm trying to keep my eyes on the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm going off the top of my dome, and I forgot about Persona 4.
If you were post-Blockbuster era, you have no idea what Armitage is. You've never seen that before.
That's true. So yeah, thank you, Ken, for jumping in there and saving me on that one. So it was originally pitched as a comedy-based follow-up to Bubblegum Crisis, which is a 1980s OVA series about, girls in robot suits fighting evil robots. It's very cool and very 80s, so you should check that out. There's a reference to it in an episode of the Scott Pilgrim animated series.
What?
Yeah, Doug, the song that Future Scott sings with his band, that's the opening song to the first episode of Bubblegum Crisis.
Scott Pilgrim always delivers. Scott, what a great...
I know, it's so good. We should have done a podcast about that.
Maybe next April Fools.
Ooh, that would be good. So it was rejected as an original pitch to a follow-up to Bubblegum Crisis, and they just used that as inspiration to come up with a whole new thing, and that's what we got, some Tenchi stuff. And there's multiple timelines and all that other things, but we're going to focus on the main OVA timeline and all that other fun junk. Yeah, don't worry. But again, that does include a full-on hentai series. So again, you're going to have to see some smut if you want to know everything that's going on in this. Not for these episodes. Well, we're getting pretty close with episode
I went ahead and
4.
took care of that process for you guys. I got to say, from what I saw, nothing really matches up with the timeline of the current thing. Besides, that's the only thing that really coincides. So,
okay.
Just save on that. I'll save you a watch.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Granted, I didn't look at the plot. I just skipped to the... Never mind. We can keep going.
So, guys, again, episodes 3 and 4 of Tenchi Muyo. We're going to do a temperature check. Doug, I assume this is your first time seeing these episodes, so I want to know, how did you feel about these?
First time seeing them while, consciously following the story along from episode 1 onwards, instead of just catching reruns.
Yeah.
This is a great batch of episodes again. I mean, episode 4, I would have to say, is, best TV of all time. Anywhere, so yeah, I enjoyed it myself.
Wonder what contributes to that. That's good. Ken, what do you think about these?
I remember when I was young and after episode 4 came out, watching Tenchi every day was like, is this going to be another episode like episode 4? It was such a high point for 13-year-old me, right? Episode 3 reminded me a lot of Dragon Ball Daima, of all things, in that it was very slow. Not really a whole lot happens, but what kind of separated it out for me was that this was all very character forward stuff. Even though it was slow, it was a constant showing you more, you're learning more about the characters and about their backstory. Yeah. And it didn't matter that it was slow because it was the characters learning about each other and you're learning about them. Beautiful episode.
We needed that
banger
time.
2 episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I loved these. When I when I was about to sit down and watch these, episode 3, I was like, okay, I just remember like the shack thing and like that's that and like whatever. And I didn't really remember all of the great high points. There is a part early on with Ryoko that I had entirely forgotten happened. So that I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot to these. And I found a lot more to like about them than I think I did coming into it. Not that I disliked them. It's just that they're always a barrier to 5 and 6, which I'm sorry to say, but like I love those ones. Those ones are going to be really good.
That always happens also like retroactively. You're anticipating episode 4 or 5, so you like just disregard 3, but then you watch it again, like, oh no, this was enjoyable too.
Yeah, exactly. So a great bunch of episodes, and we're just going to jump in then to the first one on our list, which is episode 3, Hello Ryo-Ohki, which came out November 25th, 1992. And a quick little recap here of it, so that way you know what happened in case you watched it a couple of weeks ago and you forgot. That's okay, I got you covered. With Ryoko and Ayeka living under the same roof, things are not going so smoothly. Who would have guessed? Ryoko teases Ayeka that her and Tenchi are having a child before her ship, Ryo-Ohki's egg, hatches a cute little cat rabbit, also named Ryo-Ohki. Ayeka leaves in a huff, longing for the days back on Jirai as a child with her brother Yosho. The princess tries to find peace outside the loud, bustling house, and as Ayeka is joined by Ryo-Ohki, she stumbles upon Tenchi and Katsuhito training in the mountains where she recognizes the swordplay routine as that of Jirai's warriors. She hurts herself trying to watch before Tenchi helps her make her way back down the mountain when they are caught in the rain and they find shelter in a shack. After the rain passes, they come across the Masaki Shrine tree and stop to see it. There, Ayeka discovers that this isn't just a regular tree, it is Funaho, her brother Yosho's ship, that took root. Accessing the ship's memory, they watch the battle between Yosho and Ryoko hundreds of years ago when they came to Earth. Satisfied with this new information, Ayeka relinquishes Tenchi-ken, the sword, to Tenchi as its rightful owner.
It's called Tenchi-ken, the sword? Spoiler.
They already said that in episode 2.
I knew it was called Tenchi, but I don't, what's the Ken part?
It just means sword.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. So let's talk about Tenchi's left-handedness, because in these episodes, he does a lot where he's holding the sword just in his right hand. But every time he wields it, he does both hands on it. Okay, so do you guys have any kind of sword? Doug, grab your power pole. Oh my gosh, grab your Nyoibo.
Excuse me?
Whoa.
In the year of our Lord, Ken?
It even says it on the box.
I'll grab my sword. I don't have the box. I'll grab my sword out here. Okay. So if you're holding it, Doug, what feels natural to you? Okay, to hold a sword.
Holding it.
Hold it like it's a sword. Okay.
Oh, right hand.
Just what feels natural? Right hand on top for you?
Yeah.
Because that's what feels natural to me is right hand on top. Now I'm left-handed, so
definitely doesn't feel right. Left hand on there,
so
definitely right hand on top.
This is how Tenchi holds it, with right hand on top, left hand on bottom. And to me, the reason I think that feels natural is my left hand. I feel like I have greater control of the sword from the outside. You understand?
Interesting.
I don't have as much.
I'm not a sword wielder, so maybe that's the more better way to strike.
So I need all my sword experts in the chat to follow up with what you think. Is Tenchi left-handed or is he right-handed? Because
oh my god, no, you're right. Because I didn't until I have this in my hand. Yeah, if I have my left hand above, I way have more like control where this is going by
with your right hand.
This hand, my god, no wonder I lose on the schoolyard every day.
So anyway, this is just the people really need to know about Tenchi's hand preference. Is he a normie? Right-handed, or is he sinister? For those of you who don't know, sinister can also mean left-handed. Sinestro in Green Lantern comics, left-handed. Now you know.
Whoa, that's not cool. I don't like that.
I didn't know that about myself until you just did. That's incredible. Yeah, I've been holding a sword wrong the entire time.
Oh, interesting. I wanted to say the opening bit. We've got a flashback of Ayeka on Jirai as a kid, picking flowers, doing her thing before Yosho shows up. Picks a nice flower. She's like, oh, this one's the same color as your eyes. And brings up this is called a royal teardrop, and it's not for happy occasions. And then we just get that explosion behind Ayeka.
Yeah.
Very scary. Ryoko shows up, and she's just wearing like casual clothes. Like she's not wearing what I assume like a space pirate who's out pillaging and destroying things would wear. But she's got red glowy eyes, and this is the part where I had mentioned in the last episode that we have that recording of Yosho who brings up like, tomorrow I'm going to go do battle with Ryoko. But this one, it's very clear, like she just shows up, starts wrecking house, and he just in a rage rushes after her. It's like, this doesn't seem pre-planned to me.
I mean, they both could be very like dramatized versions of what actually happened,
That could be.
The point at we're right now, has Ryoko been explicit about why she's staying? I mean, outside of being interested in Tenchi, right? Like Ayeka, right? Obviously, her ship's crashed in there, and so they're just staying with the nearest people. But Ryoko can just like yeet out of there, or can that Ryo-Ohki not with
Ryo-Ohki yet?
Okay,
right, because they crashed and they also had to stay, even though
and she also needs the jewels that are in the Tenchi Ken.
It's true.
Tenchi Ken.
There you go. You're learning fast and keeping
Tenchi Ken.
Oh no. We're going to start a rap. I don't know what's going to happen.
No,
but yeah, she wants those jewels. And also at
Okay.
the beginning of episode 3, after our flashback, where Ayeka is looking out the window, like Ryoko is going to go get the egg because Ryo-Ohki had crashed and been damaged, so it needs to rebirth itself. And I do want to say it's just a cool thing where she walks out onto the water because she's flying, and then she descends into the water. But when she's underwater, she's not in the water. She's phasing through it because she's completely dry as she's looking around to like find the egg.
It's super like godly kind of vibe, just like I'm walking on water now I'm just phasing in. It's so like cool, mischievous.
Oh
too.
yeah, I love that. Ayeka is of course disgusted having to see Ryoko first thing in the morning, and
what a horrible sight in the morning.
Yeah, we learned from Sasami that Ayeka has just been held up in this room for a week and not wanting to come out. It's very rude to your guests or to the people that are hosting you to not come see them.
You're giving the Jiraiya a bad name. It's like, is she here to give them a good name? I don't know.
Well, I mean, she's a princess.
This episode kind of makes it clear that even Ayeka understands that her situation with Yosho must seem so strange to Tenchi. But it's extra strange in the flashback where we see the crazy age difference between the two of them. And even though Yosho's like, well, when you're older,
it's
all,
still creepy to say that.
It's still hard to take in.
Everything about it is creepy. But then I guess if you think about it the Game of Thrones Targaryen way, it's definitely a similar thing. It's tough to be like, it's a cultural thing, so we can excuse it. But it's I don't know. I think this whole... Go ahead.
I'm glad that they made a point to recognize how alien it is. And then that mentally I can just be like, okay, alien, dry, space culture, this is what this species does.
I think if anything, one aspect might be to make it so weird that there's that relationship between Ayeka and Yosho, so that it's less weird that Ayeka can fall for Tenchi. It's like, oh, well, no, he's a descendant. Because then if there wasn't that, it'd be like, it's kind of weird that you're crushing over Tenchi. Isn't he kind of your ancestor related? But then you don't think about that because it's like even weirder that that she was interested in Yosho, so the descendant's less weird.
So if you think of, the DNA difference is much greater with Tenchi than
many years. Also, has it been like 700 years? Can't she get over Yosho or whatever? Like, you're still young and beautiful.
Has
There's
it
plenty
been that long?
Yeah, because I believe it was 700 years ago that whole thing happened, because that was, Ryoko.
That's how long she's been frozen
trapped.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And Ayeka wakes up from hibernation in episode 2. So it's like, all right, she's been sleeping on that ship looking for Ryoko.
Yeah.
It just takes a long time, I suppose.
I have to be honest with you guys. I said I'm not taking notes on this. I'm just watching it, enjoying it, trying to absorb the episodes. I'm not editing a Tenchi wiki timeline, so I'm not the timeline guy for this show.
That's fair. That's okay. And
no
what?
One's
If we
asking
get
you
things, yeah, and that's okay. If we get things wrong, I mean, hopefully people who are listening or watching can point it out to us and let us know, because we're just trying our best. Gosh darn it. So we have this whole scene where Ayeka finally comes downstairs and Ryoko is just chilling on the couch and talking to Sasami about like, oh, I've got I'm having a child. And it's like, oh, okay, well, who's the father? Are you married? And just says that it's Tenchi. Who, of course, Ayeka's not happy about that. Tenchi walks in at that moment, just be like, what is happening? Everybody is so angry.
I can't be the father.
Yeah. God. Isn't there a scene where his grandfather says like, oh, you've got a lot of responsibility now as a father?
Yeah, well, his entrance is Ryoko backing up and then him grabbing her by the chest like, whoa.
And he squeezes.
He squeezes.
Yep.
Second time a pretty girl's running into me. Like, oh my God. But then she goes to punch the grandpa and the grandpa just stops it. And it throws Ryoko off a little bit. So much so you find out not even a few minutes later, but like she tries to punch the staircase And it's like, yeah, I still have the strength. Why did the grandpa have that much strength to stop me? Like, it's such a little Easter egg, not Easter egg, like a seedling that is like, oh my God, that's so cool. What can the grandpa do? What does he know?
Yeah, this episode goes pretty heavy on unraveling the mystery of Tenchi's lineage.
Yeah.
You know, with Yosho's eye color being the same color as what's the grandpa's name?
Katsuhito.
And that he knows like the dry fighting style.
Oh, definitely. There's an insinuation.
And that he blocks Ryoko.
Is it also kind of safe to assume that Tenchi's dad is not the son of the grandpa? Maybe it's the mother.
Yeah, it's the mother.
Has lineage. Yep. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Which now that I'm thinking about it,
because he mentions the mom, but I'm assuming the mom is dead at this point, just from that context clue of like,
right,
just like your mother was, or something like that.
Yeah. I'll save it. There's a weird thing. I think it's episode 5 that has a continuity issue with the later episode, and I thought initially it was a dub issue, but then watching it in Japanese, I'm like, oh no, they screwed that up prior to.
Oh yeah, we should say,
later.
Did you also watch it both versions again?
Right. Yes, I watched episodes 3 and 4. Geez, probably like a day or two after we recorded last because I just needed more.
You wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, and then like yesterday or this morning I watched 4, and 2 days ago I had watched 3 again, but this time Japanese with subtitles.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watched both as well. Did it today.
You did?
Yeah. Both dub and sub. Yeah.
Nice. Ken, you're still just sticking dub?
Yeah, and I think I'm shifting from like this is a dub that I have fondness for and appreciate it for the time that it came out. And I think I'm starting to straight up shift into this is an incredible dub.
Really?
I do love it.
Oh, there was moments. I gotta say, there was moments. I'm still in the mindset of like, I'm watching both because I have so much nostalgia for the dub that it's just comforting, but I can still acknowledge that it's not great. And then switch over to the Japanese. And I would say the Japanese, nothing spectacular about it, but it just feels natural. So I'm kind of enjoying that more as like a regular. This is what the anime is supposed to feel like. Like especially like say in an episode 4 with the new blonde character, I forget her name, but like just her like fumbling over stuff. Just the sound effects the voice actress makes for her doing that sounds way more natural than it does in the English dub. But just things like that.
We'll get to her, Doug, but put some respect on MIHOSHI, please.
MIHOSHI, I'm sorry, yes.
MIHOSHI Kuromitsu, if you want the full name.
MIHOSHI, your Hoshi, our Hoshi. It's all good.
So what comes next after this? We did have that whole part where Ayeka leaves in a huff and then, of course, runs into Katsuhito first. And, then he comes back, squeezes Ryoko's boobs. We also have the whole thing where Ryoko is desperately trying to get a hold of the sword. Like she's fondling around Tenchi's crotch. So where is that sword, by the way?
She first is like, you keeping it safe for me while rubbing it. So you have no clue. Then some of the sword. Okay.
Yeah.
But also
very
obviously
funny. I guess I must have watched my Malaysian VCDs quite a bit because I can always tell like exactly where cuts happen because it's right before she goes to like, oh, where's that sword? As we cut that, and I'm like, because I was like, oh, it cuts here. So what's going to happen? That is, they needed to edit out. Okay, it was the crotch grab and the boobie grab. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so now you know. Yeah.
Now I see.
Would kill to get a hold of the Toonami broadcasts of this.
Yeah,
I need to know.
It's available.
Okay, I need to know how they handle certain things.
How they handle the entirety of episode 4.
Right. Well, I know how they did that. They just colored it in. But just how they cut around things where I just need to know. They did so much with this.
In and of itself to do that.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly artfully done, Doug, censorship job that in episode 4, just to jump ahead a little bit, not only do they put swimsuits on these characters, but they give thought to what types of swimsuits these characters would be wearing.
Oh,
Ryoko is in a strapless bikini, right? Mm-hmm. Very comfortable with her body. And Ayeka is in a red one piece.
One piece? Yeah.
Right. Which is totally right for those characters.
Yeah, they do. It's thoughtfully done, which is impressive. You wouldn't think they would do something like that.
Well, I mean, back then, I think they cared. That's the thing, is that they have this thing and they want to treat it right.
Well, and also now
it's
money.
Just a job you got to get through. Yeah.
I wonder where these edits, when these edits took place. Did they take place in 2000 when the show hit Toonami, or were they for the? I believe that the show aired on PBS at one point.
Whoa.
So did they edit it that early on in the show's run in the US?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. Because I would assume on PBS they also would have put bathing suits on them for episode 4.
Imagine a world where you're watching anime on PBS.
Okay.
Because you don't have to actually imagine it, but I'm just saying.
Imagine.
My eyes are closed. I'm thinking about it.
A world where anime is
Deek.
still so niche in the US that PBS has picked it up as like the art house thing that they're showing late at night.
Ah.
That idea doesn't exist anymore. This is the more mainstream than anything else now, anime.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. So Ayeka kind of goes out on her own to just like be alone, not have to deal with any of this BS. And of course she hates Ryo-Ohki because, I mean, it was the ship that took her down.
Yeah.
It's the buddy of Ryoko, so.
But of course, it's a cute little animal thing. She runs up and she tries to cheer her up. And,
And the
I just really...
music,
Yeah.
Ryo-Ohki's
it's so
like
good.
theme in this, it's so... It reminds me a lot of my dog and the way the kind of music that we attribute to her is a very kind of like mischievous, cute type music. And that's like what's playing here for Ryo-Ohki. It's so good. So good.
I love the bouncing sound effect. That just stuck with me forever. That bouncing sound that she makes.
Incredible sound design in the show, which we haven't even really talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
I hear the trunk sword in there whenever the Tenchi is around. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so many like sounds that I just are so iconic to this whole series that I just can't help but hear. If I hear it in anything else, which is not quite often, I immediately I'm like, oh, okay, I remember that was used at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just,
So-
you know.
Let's say you, the listener, you're just listening to us talk about this and you haven't actually experienced the show yet. Imagine the sound effect for Frieza's footsteps and like how iconic, and if you heard that, you know exactly what that is. That's like all the sound design in Tenchi is like this. There's such specific sound effects that you will always think of Tenchi for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's great.
They knew what they were doing.
That's what iconic means.
Exactly. But eventually, going back to Ayeka, she kind of like falls for the charms of this tiny little cat rabbit.
Yeah, she tries to resist, but
Right.
I think it makes her discover the same flower that she was showing to her brother eons ago.
Yep, exactly.
And of course, it brings back bad memories, but then she brings her like a red flower to cheer her up. It's so great.
I hate to keep interrupting you, Randy, but you said cat rabbit. Is it a fan term, cabot, or is that the actual term for Ryo-Ohki?
I don't know. I can't be sure if that's what they called it in actual material, but like I was gonna hold off on saying cabot. And I was gonna say cat rabbit, but
Is it a Mr. Gohan way where just the fan term turned into real?
Yeah, I guess.
it could have been. I mean, Tenchi kind of had like a really big booming, fan base back in those days. At least I feel from what I had looked at online when I was that back during the times that it was airing.
Yeah.
Not to keep on this, but we I said if you missed Toonami, if you weren't watching Tenchi on Toonami, you really missed the boat. Like maybe you were watching, like I know Mike Vegito EX, he was watching it on tapes back in the day, right? But like I would say if so maybe you caught it then, but if you didn't catch it and you came into anime after Tenchi left Toonami, you probably have no exposure to this series.
Maybe.
And
I feel like when Funimation got Tenchi Muyo GXP, that they kind of really pushed that. So
yeah,
and
but
it's
that
kind
was
of tangential.
That was the era of Funimation and just anime in general, like, let's get everything. So they were also pushing Full Metal Alchemist, and they were pushing Fruits Baskets and everything. What was that one? But it's not Sandland, obviously, but it was like a guy. And he's in a
Desert Punk.
Desert Punk. You know exactly what I mean. So they were just grabbing like literally anything and pushing it. And I think Tenchi GXP was a part of that, just like lost in the everything else that was getting pushed at that time.
I remember seeing it and just it looking so different from the Tenchi I knew, which is what we're watching now.
Yeah.
And just like not, being a little off put by it. Like this isn't the Tenchi I know, and never like bothered to watch it.
Tenchi was this huge thing. It was right after Gundam Wing on Toonami, right? And just nobody knows about it anymore.
Yeah.
I think that, Doug, you brought up like this doesn't feel like it to me. And I think that because Tenchi has been going so long, and I'm sorry, this is just multiple tangents here, that it's evolved over time. And of course, like aesthetics change and, different people are the head of different productions. So
going to computer design instead of like hand drawn.
Yeah, even before that, because Tenchi Muyo and Tenchi Universe look very similar to each other. Tenchi in Tokyo looks, I think, drastically different, which was, immediately followed up there. And then, we have GXP, which was that one is digitally animated. So that one feels very different. Like the color design is different. Just the way that character proportions and like line width.
I'll tell you what it is. It's none of that. It's the Tenchi ponytail. When that's gone, it's not my Tenchi. That's not my Tenchi.
Oh, that's true. Well, you're not going to like movie 3. I'm sorry.
No. Can someone redraw that every scene for me, please?
No, I really love his hair in that movie. I'm sorry. Okay. You'll have to kill me over that one.
Wow. That escalated.
I love it.
Hey, I know how to use a sword now, so you better watch out.
Oh, that's true. Dang, my undoing. But yeah, you had brought up that, she, thanks to Ryo-Ohki, rediscovers that, the flower from Jirai is actually blooming here too. So it's, all things are kind of converging.
There's so much here that it's just like, what could this mean? Like, what is that? I don't know.
Yeah. And that takes her to watching Tenchi and his grandfather training. Well, first Tenchi is jumping around on like these short little offset poles trying to hit a pole hanging from like, that's got to be difficult. Got to watch where your feet are, but also make sure that you're still hitting the thing.
It looked fun, like in a sense. Like I don't know if it's the animation drawing or whatever, but it just looks fun. And the way you see like the blurry log like floating in the air while he's trying to hit it and dodge it, and like, oh man, that'd be fun until you trip and break all your bones falling on all the logs.
If I had literally any dexterity, I'm sure it's a blast. But I could not do it.
And if I wasn't in my late 30s, worried that I'm going to break my ankles and be unable to ever walk again, it would be very fun. And then they do this sort of fight choreography where Ayeka's like, "Oh, hold on, that's exactly what it was on Jirai." And like, there's this really great frame blend of Tenchi doing the move to Yosho doing everything.
Yeah.
And then she gets distracted and falls, and Tenchi gets distracted hearing that noise where he's bonked on the head by his grandfather, who's in the most ridiculous form, like arm under his knee legs, to hit him.
Yeah.
Is that part of the routine?
I was like, was that the Jirai or is that his own? He's mixing his own skills in there.
He's doing his own thing. And then he leaves. It's like, no, you go help Ayeka. I have things to do. And
that's as soon as Ayeka brings up, like, can you tell me about that style you're doing? He's like, Tenchi, you got this. I'm an old man. I need to leave now. It's like, all right, suspicious McGee.
Yeah, very suspicious. I've actually got it running right now, and it's synced up to right where we are. This is when it starts raining, and it's very cute. Like, Ryoko has given up all hope of finding this goddamn sword. Like, she had went into Ayeka's room, was digging around,
and then she sees the hologram of Yosho, and the dub and the Japanese say two different things.
Yes.
Ooh, yes. Very, very interesting. Because in the dub, she's like, I would like him more that size, or what was it, Ken?
I actually like him in that size.
Yeah, I actually like him in that size. But in the Japanese version, she's like, him, good riddance.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Totally different.
Is that unreliable narrator again, or is that just like her? I don't know. Or like just like in this world, like I haven't seen him around, so yeah, good riddance. I'm glad he's gone. Or does she know something else? It's interesting.
It's two variations of characterization on that. I don't know. I like both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be like a sexual joke in the dub. Like, I like him that size. I'm like, what's going on here? Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe she just means like less intimidating because he's that small. That's probably what she means.
Oh, he'd be easy to crush, easy to step on. Which some people like that.
Still, not yet. That's a later 2020s thing. Hasn't reached phenomenon now.
So Tenchi is carrying Ayeka down from the mountain, and it starts to rain. And this funny thing of Ryoko just on the couch, just completely despondent, like, I'm never going to get that sword. And Sasami, it's raining out, and my sister is still outside. You have to do something. And Ryoko just like, they don't have a way of doing that on this planet yet, so I can't do nothing. Just these little peppering things of like, don't forget, they are not from here. They're from a different place with a whole different technology and things like that. And then we have this scene where, they are in the shack trying to keep warm. Tenchi gets shirtless, which is exciting, I suppose.
No nipples.
No nipples. And he has this weird thing in one shot where he turns from one side and then like puts his hand on the back of his head, where the line they drew for his pecs spins around, becomes his abs, and then spins back around to become his other pec. Like, it's just one continuous spin. Yeah, man.
It's just like a Goku hair thing or what?
It's not even a flip. Like, you can clearly see it. It goes, woo.
Whoa.
It's just very smooth. And my eyes are drawn to it every time and distracted. So I'm like, that's not right.
So Tenchi has this like towel, right? That he like squirts the water out of, and they're like, "Here, use this to dry yourself." Does that
right?
Can you actually use? It's still damp.
Yeah, I didn't catch that literally until I watched it like the other day. I was like, "Wait, really? It's still wet. Like, how would that help?"
Just rinsed it out. Whatever. It's a thought.
He's trying. Yeah, exactly. He lets her, disrobe out of all of her wet clothes, and he's going to go stand out in the rain, and then she gets attacked by a monster that latches onto her cleavage, which of course is Ryo-Ohki. I don't know why she jumped there, but there are a bunch of carrots in there, and that's of course what she wanted.
So adorable. Ryo-Ohki is the best.
It's so
true.
good. Oh my gosh,
MVP.
I wish it was. I'm sure there's a stuffed animal of that, but that'd be so cute to have.
Oh yeah, tons. So rain clears up. They head back out, and that's when they come across the big tree, the Masaki tree. And it's like, it was a thing that I've never heard of before, and I was interested to watch it in Japanese to be like, what do the subtitles say? Because Ayeka notices it, and Tenchi says, oh, that's the Masaki tree. Wonder stories hang from it. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? But no, the subtitles are also just like, yep, that's what it is. I'm like, okay, this would have to be a thing I look up, because I assume it's maybe some Shinto ritual or a festival thing. Yeah, because I'm like, maybe. I don't know what that is.
Because I mean, they do that in a different aspect of like hanging up and having messages or whatever.
Right. So he's like, do you want to go see it? And takes her down to it, and she investigates it, and it's like, this isn't just a tree, this is my brother's ship. And she brings up the sword and taps it on the trunk, and all these lasers fly out, and it's like, oh, I'm accessing its memory banks. I want to see like what all happened. And then we get the cool flashback of Yosho following in his ship after Ryoko. They come down to Earth. Their ships have pretty much like crashed, landed, and they're just having a battle.
The lake.
Yes, that's right. Big explosion. They're like, oh, that's where the lake came from right here.
So geographically, is the spot where Ryoko was jailed under Funaho, under the lake? And that's why it was so wet down there?
It could be. I don't know exactly where precisely on the map it is, because it's in the mountain, and of course this is all part of the mountain, and it could be.
I wonder if there'll be a significance to that. But I don't know.
Because after the seal is broken, we see this tree, don't we? And then the tree makes all the beams of light come down and hit the lake, and those go up.
Yeah. I think that's what signals to Ayeka, like, hey, this is where it is, because I think she's looking for where Yosha went, does not know, and that's why she's been gone for so long. There's also this really cool shot. It's Yosho defeating Ryoko, where he's beaten and bloody, holding his sword, and the blade is through her throat, and she's still just like trying to get at him, and the gem kind of flows down the blade into the hilt of the sword. Like,
she looks demonic, cool. Man. She looks like, with those red eyes and everything, and
just
not the Ryoko we know.
Yeah. Which is it's interesting, that we'll get to all of that. And they, pull back out from all of this, and they're like, okay, that's kind of that. And Ayeka, makes the realization, like, you know what? This is your sword. It's not for me. And I can't remember exactly what the thing that, changes her mind is. Is it just like, seeing her brother again?
No, I was going to say we glossed over it all, but like from when they arrive in the shack, this is a very tender moment they share in the shack where like, she's finally forced to kind of sit down and listen to Tenchi and like talk and like, oh, you're not. I immediately thought you were a bad person because you were with Ryoko when I found you, but no, you're just a regular guy and you're just doing you kind of thing. And I'm sorry I judged you and everything. And this is the one part in the dub, like I'm like, wait, this is really good. These actors are like nailing it right here. Like, am I watching the same dub? This is crazy. Everything feels so like nice and tender, and it just feels like normal, natural conversation. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they knock it out of the park because. There's not, granted, I have a lot of history with watching this dub, so it might just be nostalgia, but it's good to hear from you, Doug, that you've got fresh eyes, fresh ears, a fresh heart, and you get to analyze it from
like
there.
Even after they leave the shack and like when like Tenchi's pointing out the tree, everything is so tender. Like, it's a different vibe than when it was them going to the shack and it's just like, I don't know you kind of thing. It's like, no, yeah, what is that? Before she was shy to be on his shoulder, on his like back and everything. Just like more like accepting. It's very sweet. So that's why at the end she gives him the sword. It's like, I trust you.
Mm-hmm. I think this episode does a really great job of characterizing Ayeka and her relationship with Tenchi, because we had that introductory episode with 2 where she's just kind of on Ryoko's ass the whole time, and she imprisons them and all of this. And now it's like, okay, well, let's see a more humble Ayeka who's not high and mighty. And
she more accepts Tenchi as a part of the lineage. Like, she's like, no, yeah, she finally admits, like, you're a descendant of Yosho or whatever. So it's like, yeah.
And then she starts calling him Lord Tenchi.
Yes.
That's true.
Is that Tenchi-sama in the
Tenchi
Japanese?
Dono, I would assume.
Tenchi Dono,
but I'd have to double check. I don't exactly recall. But, man, I always am kind of like, yeah, episode 3, whatever. But, those tender moments and just like, I don't know, the hilarity of like, oh, I have a baby with Tenchi.
Yeah, it was
like,
funny.
is
good.
Yeah,
the egg falling is another, speaking of like sound effects, just the egg, when it was still, Ryo-Ohki was still in an egg and it falls on the ground. And like, just that sound effect is it's such a iconic sound.
I don't know why, but there is a specific delivery that, I don't know, to me, activates something in my heart of like, this is the cutest thing that I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And it is when that egg falls and Sasami like gasps, and then it's just like her giggle, like as she's like breaking out of the egg, is just like, gosh, what an adorable girl. Like, Sasami is just such a sweetie pie.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Pure.
Yeah.
Pure.
Oh, so good. That brings us to the end here for episode 3. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw out here?
No.
Well, they were speaking of Ryo-Ohki and Sasami, like that's like when they first meet, like this is gonna be the bonding friendship like forever. Like as soon as Ryo-Ohki breaks, Sasami like goes up to her and like smiles, and then Ryo-Ohki smiles back, and it's just there's that.
They have that. They have that scene, but then most of this episode is Ryo-Ohki is with Ayeka, so it's very funny that then like, all right, now we're gonna go back, and it's gonna be the other two that are paired all the time.
Yeah.
Let's get into episode 4.
All righty, cool. Cinema. That's what you've heard it from Doug. Episode 4, MIHOSHI Falls to the Land of Stars, that came out December 10th, 1992. So, what happened in this episode? Don't worry, I got your back. Space seems to be about as chaotic as the Masaki house these days, with the Galaxy Police trying to hunt down a wanted criminal. Sadly, the only officer in the area is MIHOSHI, a klutzy, absent-minded Galaxy Policewoman who doesn't even know how her own equipment works. She takes on her new mission and makes way for Earth. Tenchi and company go to visit an onsen owned by a distant relative. Despite being told to behave, Ryoko and Ayeka can't help but argue in the bath. Things escalate, and as you would have guessed, Ryoko summons a powerful demon spirit to sick on Ayeka. Unfortunately, Ryoko needs a second gem to actually control the thing. The monster runs loose, attacking anyone and everyone in its path. Just as Tenchi gets out his sword to face the monster, a wormhole appears in the sky, pulling the monster through to the other side while a Galaxy police ship and officer emerge and fall to the surface. After Tenchi saves the woman, MIHOSHI explains who she is and that she's on the lookout for a wanted criminal before discovering that one such criminal, Ryo-Ohki, is a cute little baby pet that eats her gun. And just like that, MIHOSHI Kuramitsu joins the group. And then we have a very spooky dream sequence at the very end.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. But I wanted to talk about this opening shot and things of the Galaxy Police fighting a giant ship. And like Spock is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eye patch Spock.
Yeah. That makes it legally distinct.
We're in space. I get it now.
Yeah. That's good. And then we have, talking with like the commander of the Galaxy Police Force.
Talking to the marshal.
Talking to the marshal. Marshal's like, hey, you got to go get this guy. Make it happen. And then he finds out like, the person that's in that area is MIHOSHI. And we got this other guy who shows up, and it's like, do you know how rough this is? Like, well, she's a top class detective, and she's done all this great stuff. He's like,
but she's like, look at all these bills I have from her, and all this misconduct reports all over my desk.
If I had
that I love, like that I hate in Dragon Ball Daima. Sorry to like do that, but it's just like, because we're not in space for the entire series, right? So it's nice to see like, they have a bunch of desk work to do in space too, just like we do. But like, Dragon Ball Daima, when it's like nothing is creative and it's all this, it's like, yeah, we get it. But like these are funny and they serve a purpose to show that this one character has just been an annoyance to this company for forever now. And she's just the marshal's granddaughter or whatever, so we have to be nice to her. It's great.
I love that we get this continued difference in cultural space travel. Like how we talked last time about the spaceships, right? Jurai spaceships are very different from Ryo-Ohki, and technologically wise, which is extremely different from the Galaxy Police.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can look at a ship, or at least the inside of the ship, and immediately know whose this is. You don't even have to see the people that are in there. You're like, oh, okay.
Everyone has different cultural like ways of creating stuff. And of course, not all going to look the same unless they share the information. But then the universe is so big, of course, some people are not going to share information. Yeah, it's all different.
Right. He's not played off as nefarious, but it's a very strange way to put things when the other dude who comes in and he's like, oh, I have a way that we can take care of MIHOSHI. Leave it to me. And I'm like, take care of? Like, usually that's like, I'm gonna end her.
I didn't read it that way. I really was like, she's a nuisance.
No.
There's a way to get rid of her. Like, keep her busy. Because obviously it's the marshal's granddaughter, so they're not going to kill her, but it's just like, we got to get rid of this annoying brat or whatever.
Put it in a way that's like, keep her out of our hair or something.
Yeah,
it's like, I'll take care of her. Just like, ugh. But he doesn't, obviously shake his fist or anything. He's just got a doofy grin on his face.
But you see that desperation in the commander's like face, like, you know a way?
Yeah.
Funny.
Let me know. God.
Now, we are at the part of Tenchi where I'm starting to maybe recognize some anime, seasoned anime voice actors.
Whoa.
Like,
really?
I think Crispin Freeman's in this, and I'm pretty sure that Jeff Nimoy is the lion dude. I'm not 100%, but that voice quality's there.
Right.
For those who don't know, Jeff Nimoy is Tentomon. He's Wolfwood in Trigon. I don't know why I said Trigon like that. Like Raven's dad or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that now that we're starting to incorporate more just like tertiary characters, like, that'll probably happen. That makes sense to me. So then we get to go back to Earth and see like what Tenchi and them are up to, and it's starting to get cooler out.
We have to meet. We have to meet. MIHOSHI,
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, totally forgot. Yeah. Who's her outfit? Well, she's just chilling. Looks so 90s and cozy.
Great. Her whole room looks all 90s and everything, and she's watching like the famous like Japanese like 2-pair stand-up comedy, just like chilling and slacking off. Well, I guess it's their time off, but still.
Yeah. Just having coffee or like whatever, and the phone rings, and like she's got too much crap, so like touching one thing knocks something over and knocks over another thing, and then like, oh, I need to grab a rag to clean that up, and all the books are on top of the rag dispenser, and just like, oh god, what a mess.
This is what I meant. Like in the Japanese version, it's very like natural, like it's a consecutive like whoops, oh my god. But then in the English dub, it kind of feels like, okay, say this line, whoa, okay, now say this line, like it feels like pieced together as opposed to just one natural consecutive. Bumbling mess,
That might be true, but I love it so much.
Small nitpick is what it's at.
I really like MIHOSHI. She would be a nightmare to be around.
Oh,
I think easily the worst of all of them.
We're not going to get to it probably ever, but not really a big spoilers. But Doug in Tenchi Universe, MIHOSHI actually has a partner, and of course, like her partner is
the black-haired girl with like a headband,
dark
blue, but blue, green,
fighting over colors.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry. Hair color.
Sound off in the comments. Does Kione have blue hair or green hair? Let us know.
But just very long suffering Kione is just like, oh god, I have to deal with this woman all the time. But I don't know. I like her. There's a thing that I always forget, which is that she is good at her job and like gets things done.
Yeah.
Because they bring up she's a top class detective, it just costs a lot because she'll like make mistakes. But she like immediately gets into uniform and she sits down. She's like, all right, fill me in on who this Kagato guy is, because I got stuff to do. Granted, but then she's just trying to make coffee with her like weird cyber cube and like
ADHD, just like completely like off target. Listen to anything they're saying.
It's something that really we shouldn't gloss over is that this episode starts away from any of the characters we know.
Right.
Yeah. And the episode begs us to have faith in it that this will all connect. Just trust us. We have to go away for a little bit to bring this back. And it's just like, I just love that kind of confidence in storytelling.
I watched that episode today during lunch break, and I'm in the break room by myself, and I'm like, I just really hope that nobody comes in at a very specific time. And of course, at the very specific time we get to later, somebody does, but they knocked on the door just to make sure that, you know, that I was in there, which gave me time to like, swipe that away.
That's a close call.
Yeah, I was taking the risk because I was like, I'll just watch it at lunch, and then only just before lunch did I realize, wait, it's episode 4. Okay, whoops. But yeah, I really like, you know, just Mahoshi's introduction, and you're right there. This whole show is like trusting us, like, hey, this isn't the show you know, but please stick with us because you're gonna want to know who this girl is. I mean, you're buying these tapes, so obviously you're not like changed it to a channel. Like, what is this? This isn't the show that I thought it was gonna be. And you know, she's on the cover
back there,
right? But yeah, that was a fun introduction to her, and then we don't get to see her for a good bit because we're gonna go to Earth and see.
We're looking at other good bits.
You almost forget about it.
So Tenchi and everybody is heading out to an onsen, where I believe they're just, you know, they go out here every once in a while for a trip, and bringing all the girls along, and of course, things got to get crazy. I like that the woman is like, are these all Tenchi's girlfriends?
And then the dad's like, yeah, I guess.
I'm unsure.
It's
this
also
episode
cool that Ryoko has a new outfit every day.
Yeah, this one
like,
looks very, very cozy.
And a
this
tail.
That's what I was going to get to. It's like, this one, weirdly, she's got a tail. And it's not just like hanging around. It's moving and like wiggling.
No one mentions it. It's just it's there and moving, and not there later on in the episode, just in these particular scenes. So it's intriguing.
It's part of her outfit, but also like she controls it with, I don't know. It's so strange.
Mm-hmm. At first I thought she was sitting on a cat because she was sitting down and the tail was there and kind of moving.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but no. And she teleports away and it's still on her.
There's this weird thing that happens after she teleports away, after, you know, trying to talk Tenchi into, God, I don't know, what is it? Did she just like want to...
Just to flirt with her.
Yeah, like she's like, fine, I'm leaving, and she teleports away, and then all of the luggage that he had pulled out pulls back in on top of him. Like, what is this? Is this like levitating?
I take Ryoko as like she's a space pirate, and there's no feelings for Tenchi. Like she's like asking him to flirt with her, but this is part of her like persona and part of like how she gets men to do what she wants. She's been a space pirate for so many years now. She knows how to manipulate men, and it's frustrating her that it's not working on Tenchi. So of course she gets kind of like mad. I don't see it as mad, like, oh, I want her to flirt with me because I like him or whatever. No, it's just like, it's not my womanly whatever is not working on this dude. You know what I mean?
You know, I didn't think about that because of what I know later on. Specifically, I believe it's episode 5 that we get into some stuff. But that's
okay. But for me,
stop talking there.
My read is just like, you know, if she needed to kill Tenchi for whatever reason, she'd be fine with it. If Tenchi died for whatever reason, she'd be fine with it. She's just using Tenchi as a means to a goal. There's no like care, anything there. Ayeka, obviously there is some, but with Ryoko, no. Space pirate still.
Yeah, right now I think her interest in Tenchi is that she feels a certain rivalry with Ayeka, and Ayeka's interested. And so therefore Ryoko is like, well, I can't let Ayeka have him. So I think that's where her relationship with Tenchi is right now. Obviously that will change as we continue on, but it's interesting to watch that evolve.
Yeah. Because it's been so long since I watched this with fresh eyes. So like, there's everything that I know about these characters, and even though it's information that we don't get introduced to later,
stuff in the future, yeah,
right. So I'm not thinking about like, what is her relation? Like, why is she here, and like, why is she doing this sort of thing with him? But that's very cool. There's also that part where I have it going again here in the bottom corner of my screen, and you had said like, oh, she's like manipulating him, like she's gonna kill him, and like that's when she teleports him from his bath to theirs and dunks him underwater, holds him under for a bit, like, oh, she is gonna kill him. Before then, she, you know, pulls him up and then is, you know, putting the moves on him because she's completely naked and things like that.
We're skipping straight past Pervo Nobuyuki again.
Oh yeah, here we go again. This is a character trait.
So even though it is a character trait, right? He pays for it each time.
That's true.
That's true.
He falls off the ladder, and then here he falls and could have died in the water.
It is funny seeing him in the water with the eyes bugged out, just like kind of dead in the water. It's funny stuff.
There's the delivery in the English dub where he's putting the towel on, and Tenchi asks like, "What is that?" And he's like, you know, insults him like, don't you know this is the traditional attire for peeping?
He says the Vegeta, this is a Saiyan's casual wear.
Formal wear, good sir.
Formal wear.
You got to wear this thing. It hides you perfectly. Which, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen in other things people do that. Like, I think there was an episode of, like,
For
Full
me,
Metal Panic
since
from
then,
Mofu.
but of course, this would have been my first time seeing that kind of, like, thing, but it's, like, almost synonymous now. You've seen it in
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just in Daima.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, it's fun how that sort of stuff works out. So we have that continued rivalry with Ryoko and Ayeka, just things heating up more and more. Ryoko pulls the towel off of Ayeka, who's being very self-conscious about going out there.
Well, no, because of the rivalry,
not even knowing that Tenchi's there.
No, Tenchi does. She does know Tenchi. Oh, no. When Ryoko's pulling off Ayeka's towel, Ayeka's willingly walking into there with Tenchi because of the rivalry they just had. So it's like, I'm fine. It was like, well, it's a big move. You're just not going to kick this guy out or whatever. You're just going to go in there. But yeah.
It's so good.
And I got to say, just Ryoko being full on naked almost the entire episode kind of takes away the stigma of her being naked, if that makes sense. Like, after you see it for a few seconds, you're just like, you're not like, whoa, boobies. You're just like, this is real. Like, you're just looking at a character at this point.
It's not really presented in a sexualized way.
Right.
Past,
so it takes away that stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the confidence that this woman has of just like who she is and, you know, no shame, anything like that. Like, but I like that. Yeah. Nobody is explicitly like, we got to kick this boy out of the bath. They're like, well, I guess he's here and that's fine.
So Sasami being an innocent child, like doesn't get it or whatever. And just like, hey, Tenchi, what's up? What's up, brother?
Right. There's that, one gag right before she pulls the towel off Ayeka where, Ayeka and Tenchi suddenly have spotlights on them, you know, as they're just kind of like looking at each other. And Ryoka just like stops and like looks and can see the two spotlights and gets huffy. Like,
well, even during that, it's not. I'm like noticing Ayeka beautifully silhouetted with the spotlight, but then you look to your right and it's just naked, it's like Ryoko, like, you know, looking like a statue because she's grayed out. It's like, oh, cool. But no, Ryoko sees that and just the jealousy.
What you were saying about, like, you don't even think about the fact that Ryoko's nude, right? Mm-hmm. I was watching episode 4 last night, and I thought it was going to be awkward watching this with my wife, but it just wasn't.
That's what I mean.
That's what goes on. Yeah,
they didn't sexualize it. It's just there. It takes away that stigma.
Yeah, right. But the thing that you're nice is about Ryoko reacting to Tenchi and Ayeka is that, like, based on what we know of Jiraians and everything, the natural ship of this show seems like it should be Tenchi and Ayeka. And Ryoko, that's what threatens Ryoko.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because, you know, she seems so driven to be with Tenchi, even though it is just kind of right now fueled by that rivalry.
Well, I think also
like,
it's in tandem with the previous episode where, and then especially now that Ryoko says, like, you know, I saw what you guys did because Ryo-Ohki has like a memory base or whatever. I can see what you guys were doing or whatever in the shack. I was like, she's just getting upset that they're getting close. It's like, no. Like, I need to manipulate you. If you get close to her, you're not going to be on my side for everything. Especially because she has the sword. I need you, Tenchi, to get me the sword from her or whatever. Oh no, Tenchi at this point has the sword, but you know what I mean. It's still like, I don't want you getting too close with this girl.
It's a very good thing that I forget that they introduced there, where Ryoko can, like, knows everything and can sense everything through Ryo-Ohki and through that connection. Yeah. Because that comes up multiple times.
Yeah, it's funny when Ayeka's hiding after realizing Tenchi's in the bath, and then Ryoko like phases through the wall. It's like, come on, let's go, and like pulls her through, phases her through. She's trying so hard not to go, and just her face is like up against the wall, like no.
We also get great scary Ayeka face when their fight has starting to escalate, and she summons those logs, and she's like, "This is how I got you last time." And like her face is like in half shadow, her eyes are huge and red.
It's creepy. Also, when they look at Tenchi, when Tenchi tries to like, "Hey, let's calm down," all right, they both look at Tenchi just like, "Stay out of this." Then you see Tenchi's face just like hide behind the rock again. My bad.
Yeah, he and Sasami back there.
So funny. Yeah.
That moment of Sasami teasing Tenchi for being naughty, for looking at things.
So how is that in Japanese? Because she says, like, you're a naughty boy, aren't you, Tenchi?
Say almost same thing. Exactly. In the end, it's the attaboy. When she's patting his head, it's like when he admits, I'm a pervert. Attaboy. Don't lie to yourself.
Because I remember the naughty boy Tenchi thing being in promos all the time.
So despite the fact that we have multiple disrobed characters here, and it doesn't feel... What were they thinking at Cartoon Network? Like, did they just not see this episode? I mean, we've got Ryoko feeling up Tenchi, right? We've got Ryoko's side boob in the first episode. We've got everything in this episode. There's stuff in the next episode, future spoilers. There's stuff in episode 5. What were they shown? What were the people who could decide these things? What were they shown? What were they told would be done to the show?
We're probably just shown the first 3 episodes. They saw the Ryoko side boob and like, we can just cut around that. It should be simple enough. And then like, we got it. And then the Wide Awakening when episode 4 popped up. What the hell did we do?
Yeah, we've already paid all this money for the rights.
Yeah.
We gotta do something.
I'm sure it was slim pickings on what anime they could acquire. So they're like, yes, Tenchi, fine, we can work with this. And then damn, did they have to?
To me, that this is like the number one. I don't care about Miami Mike, right? And whatever went on there. I want to know, how was this allowed on TV?
Yeah.
What's that story? Who are those people? What did they decide and how?
Yeah. It's the same story that I'd also like to have investigated and talked to for like the people who were like, yeah, Escaflowne should be on the Fox Kids block. Like, no, it shouldn't be. Like, the stuff that happens later.
Was it super strict for that kind of stuff back then? Because I feel like, jumping off the 80s, every 80s movie had like a redundant sex scene just to show boobies.
Well, or like, Airplane.
As the kids.
Airplane has a girl open her breast in front of the camera, and that movie is rated PG.
See, it was a lot more lenient back then. It just wasn't. There was no just like this episode. There was no stigma of like showing you the boobs are there, and it's just not a huge deal.
Doug, parental guidance used to mean something.
I think in a short window it did. A short window it meant something where the moms got really like, no, it's gonna ruin our kids, and it's like, so the damage is done, lady.
If you go back and you watch stuff like Freakazoid or Tiny Toons or Animaniacs, right? The stuff they were getting away with that in that show today is unbelievable.
Right.
And then we kind of shifted around this point. So we're talking about around the point that Tenchi and Escaflowne probably slipped by. And then as we moved into Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming around is like when the hammer dropped on kids' entertainment and being able to do anything edgy. And
did it sync up with GTA? Like even the video games having an effect? Like we just like a more concentrated focus on kids and what they're consuming in general.
Yeah, post Columbine, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So, and that was in 2000, I think. So that could have been it, right? But it was like all of a sudden, everything was just kind of like milquetoast for what kids were watching, and so it could be that Tenchi and Escaflowne just right place, right time.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I will bring up that Escaflowne never completed its full 26 episode run on Fox. They stopped it before it got to certain points where it's like, we can't really do anything about this. So, whoops, sorry.
Side note, the one show I'm shocked and appalled by, and they could have gotten away with it pretty easily, one anime that never went mainstream here in the States, Slayers.
Yeah.
That's really not that much they would have had to cut around, just some language.
I thought I just missed that.
I believe it was licensed by Fox to be shown on television, but then they never did. So I don't know what the deal was there. But yeah, that one would have been great because there's...
How were you able to watch Slayers then? Just from VHS and DVD and stuff?
I was watching Slayers on VHS. Yeah, we would go to Half Price Books and we would buy the next tape.
My friend lent me the motion picture, so the first movie that was on VHS to see that. And then after that, I was just renting them from Netflix as discs, as it was. I mean,
I guess it must just be really good because I thought it was popular enough where I hear so many people talk about it just in the past since it's released that I thought it was just available everywhere and I just missed it. But oh wow,
yeah. It was one of those word of mouth, shows.
Great.
Their fight escalates there at the onsen to where Ryoko calls forth a demon, which is a thing that she can do, which Ryoko means devil caller, and summons this thing and then tells it to attack Ayeka, and then it just kind of turns around to fight Ryoko. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, oh, okay, well, this gem over here, I can summon it, but I need another one over here, which is in the sword. and I forgot about that.
Whoopsie.
So then it rampages and chases them through. We cut back to MIHOSHI, who's, informed, like, there's a black hole opening. Oh, okay. So, like, go around it. Like, no, we're falling into it. There's nothing we can really do.
You weren't listening for the past half hour. I've been trying to tell you. So now it's too late. We're going to fall through it.
Yeah, they're like, there's a strange thing happening on the third planet.
Yeah, it's just like this weird power surge thing that's like, is that from Ryoko summoning this thing? It seems kind of just like that, or happenstance, or a thing that shows up at the end of this episode. But then we cut back to them running through the whole building. Ryoko is now clothed because I assume it would have been difficult cold to do that.
Ayeka's not, so she must have just like phased her clothes on or something.
She's still, because she's still in her towel, but Ryoko's got her outfit on, running down the hall. I do love the, turn left down there, and then
you
Ryoko
go this way, I'll go that way. All right.
And then Ayeka jumps back and comes through. You sent me down a dead end. Oh, really? I didn't know. Okay.
But it's just silence too. Like they go their separate ways, and then you see Ayeka just turn the other way. Like what happened? You son of a. And then they run over the poor old woman that runs the onsen.
Yeah.
She's like, "Is that Tenchi's type? These women are horrible. They're so rude."
It's my favorite thing is she gets steamrolled by that demon, and this demon who's been like rushing forward and like hovering this whole time. She gets trampled down, and we see the demon from the back, and he's like doing a weird little run.
Yeah.
Just you see the footprints, one on top of the old woman.
Oh, that's so good. Tenchi shows up with the sword, like he had to go to the van to get it or something.
And pants.
That's right. He's wearing jeans, no shoes, no shirt. But sword.
Which just makes sense though, right? If you're in a hurry, yes, maybe put some pants on. No time for a shirt. I just need to cover up the goods and then let's go. Let's take care of business.
That makes sense to me because that was the problematic thing there. He tries to activate the sword. It doesn't turn on. I think, does he even do like the full like look down the thing? Like, no, don't do that. And then gets
never do that.
Gets yelled to. Remember your training. He goes, oh, okay, and closes his eyes. And then the sword starts like. What training was done?
Coolest like lightsaber I've seen in anything. Like I want a lightsaber now. I've watched so many Star Wars. I don't give a crap. But this made a lightsaber look cool. It made the lightsaber sound and everything. I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
Right.
So obviously we're skipping past time that we don't spend with these characters. And so I would imagine headcanon is that Ayeka has been like teaching him how to use the sword.
Oh yeah, because why else would she say, remember your training?
Yeah, because I'm like, is she talking about the previous episode where he was doing sword practice with his grandfather? But that had nothing to do with activating
that was just actual sword play.
Yeah, so that makes sense because yes, it is colder. Everybody is wearing cold winter or like cold weather stuff. And the next episode, it snows. Spoilers, but like it was summertime before because it was raining, and now it's like colder. Everybody's wearing like sweaters and stuff. So yeah, there's been a number of months that have passed, so that makes a whole lot of sense. The demon thing gets kind of entirely sidestepped because it gets sucked up into this wormhole thing where then MIHOSHI falls out of, which I love it. Like, how do we deal with this? Well. It just kind of solved itself, really.
Yeah, because Tenchi tried cutting it, but it just goes through. All right, it's done.
Yeah. And so then they fall down. It's so strange. I was watching this afternoon. I'm like, what was he doing? Because he catches her and they land and he's like injured or whatever. And so is she. And then we cut to like her waking up and coming to around Ryoko and Ayeka and Sasami. And it's like, I see. How he's just lying unconscious there next to everybody else.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm looking for my watch, my wrist communicator thing. And Ryoko's got like, oh, I've got it. It was broken, so I fixed it for you. And just this long, like, tense thing of like MIHOSHI, like, but the only people that know how to do that, and like this very like sinister music, and Ryoko just like, who would know how to do that? It's
Are you a jeweler?
Yes. And then just the big reaction. Ryoko falls on her face like, oh, well, cool. Well, thank you for fixing that for me. Just puts it on.
In the Japanese version, she says, watch repairman. Just a little more like precise to what it is.
Right. She puts it on and it starts activating again. It's like, oh, there's a wanted criminal nearby, which is weird because no longer statute of limitations is over.
That's true. Oh, you're right.
Oh, on Ryoko.
That's right. That's why. Yeah, that's why it's not on Ryoko because it's on Ryo. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
She gets closer and closer. Like, it's only about 4 inches away, and then it's just because her gun is like pointed at Ryo-Ohki, and then just chomp.
It's such a cute little bite, like little yump.
Please don't eat my gun.
Please don't eat my gun. And then Tenchi pops up, no pants again, back into just the thing. But I was very confused that time. But then watching it again, the Japanese version, it's like he fell in the water, so they probably undressed him. Didn't bother to undress MIHOSHI though, and she's probably still in her soaking. She's in her full attire, but whatever. It makes sense to why Tenchi is back in a towel.
It's funny how all of these women keep getting stuck with Tenchi because their spaceships are getting ruined. You'd almost think you were watching Dragon Ball Daima.
Oh, got him.
Dang, nice.
That's great. That's it.
Anyway, all these girls are here. The woman who runs the onsen catches Tenchi's dad being a pervert, and everybody has a laugh because that's just how it is. And then Sasami has a very creepy dream. She's standing on the roots of a tree. There's, a scary man. She's calling out for somebody named Tsunami before this man summons a sword, much like Ryoko, and then slashes right at her, and the screen just covered in like red blood. Wow. Before she wakes up, goes outside, and Ryo-Ohki's chilling out, just staring up at the sky. And there's that big ship from earlier in the episode that just kind of hovers over in front of the moon. Ryoko's chilling on the roof and sees it and gets attention as well. Suddenly, this dude, Kagato, is down where Ryoko was sealed away, just sort of investigating before he disappears and goes to his ship and, talks very menacingly. It's like, oh, I've found you, Ryoko, and I'm going to get you.
Well, no, she's like, so Ryoko, you found the princess? You found Tenchi? Good job.
Mm-hmm, that's
so you
right.
guys say that you forget this is the MIHOSHI episode. I forget this is the episode where like the plot kicks in.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I thought too. I'm like, oh, we're getting into plot next time. Oh man.
In the last minute and a half, we're like, by the way, here's our villain, setting up all these mysteries of like, why was Ryoko looking for the princesses and, and all of these types of things.
Having not watched this series since it first released, I always just remember this show as like a Gilligan's Island type of like, all these girls get stuck on this with this dude now, and they're just doing hijinks and like, let's find a way to get off this island type hijinks. But no, like there seems to be some plot that's gonna start happening. So.
There's real stuff going on in this show.
Yeah. Not just onsens from here on out until the end. So I find it very interesting that these 2 episodes we just happened to watch. I'm sure it wasn't intentional because we're just arbitrarily like watching 2 episodes at a time. Not arbitrarily, but you know what I mean. Watch 2 episodes at a time. But the 2 episodes we watched starts with a dream from Ayeka and ends with a dream from Sasami. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point. But also, Doug, curiously, these 2 episodes were closer together. Normally it was on the 25th of every month we were getting an OVA release. This one was November 25th and then December 10th. So there's only about 2 weeks ish of space in between those 2 coming out. So yeah, they were closer.
That's cool.
Now, for the listener, I'm holding up a figure that I have from the Tenchi series.
Look
from
at the
Tenchi Universe, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I always think this guy's Kagato.
I believe he is.
It kind of looks like him.
He
with
is?
the cape and everything.
Universe has their own
Tenchi
Kagato?
Universe. Yeah.
Well, hot damn.
Maybe
I've got a Kagato. Check it out, guys.
Should get that checked out by a doctor.
Yeah. that's bad. Yeah. Looking at it, that is Kagato in Universe, as I thought. So you're good. You got a Kagato there.
Older in this universe or whatever. Like I think like grayer hair, not like
he's got the white hair. He's got the little tiny glasses on his nose.
Yeah.
Doug, you said you watched this subtitled as well. Did you recognize Kagato's voice actor?
No, I'm really bad at that. What was it? Who was it?
That's fair. It's Norio Wakamoto. That's Cell.
Cell?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that's very exciting.
Menacing as hell. He's a great voice actor for a evil, sinister voice.
Also, Dio in the drama CD, not the JoJo OVA.
Who was Yosho's voice actor.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so fun. These 2 episodes are really great. And like I said, I always forget about how good they are because I'm so eager to get to 5 and 6.
Okay.
So, oh gosh. I'm probably going to watch
I'm just looking forward to when
tomorrow.
the scientist girl comes in. I remember her a lot.
I mean, I could tell you when, but like...
No, don't tell me. I'm just saying, like... just thinking about it, there's such a colorful cast of characters. They all have their own distinct personalities. There's the shy one, there's the flirty one, there's the ditzy one now that's been introduced, and yeah, the scientist was like... I remember her being like smart and like flirty.
Oh, yeah. Washu? Yeah.
Okay.
Love her so much.
Yeah, watching this, I'm like where you're at, Doug. I'm like, I cannot remember when Washu shows up,
right?
or what the context is for it.
Her ship also crash land on here. She's stuck.
She's like the last major female character, at least from the first two OVAs.
Yeah,
correct. And actually, we had a reference to her already in this episode. It's so well crafted, you guys. I love this show so much. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you want to say about episode 4?
I'm just skimming through the episodes, seeing if I forgot anything. But no, yeah, it's all good. Oh, when MIHOSHI.
Yep.
MIHOSHI. When she first comes down, it's funny how Tenchi's carrying Ryoko, and then just like subtly, just MIHOSHI just bumps her out of the way and gets into Tenchi's arms. It's
almost like there's a magnet.
Yeah. It's like it's like an obvious like you're replacing her. Like suck it, Ryoko, and other girls gonna take Tenchi's attention away from you.
Yeah, which is funny. I don't think those two interact super much in stuff. Like she's there.
But it's just like it's more like the show, like, hey, new hotness, move out of the way. There's another hotness coming on.
Stop thinking about Ryoko. Think about this chick. She's where it's
so
at.
far. Tenchi hasn't really done too much distinctiveness, right? Like he's kind of just like a guy, right? It's more the women of the cast of women are doing like more heavy lifting with these episodes.
Yeah, this is not a show about Tenchi. This is a show about all the women who surround him. Meanwhile, in the world of Dragon Ball,
that's right,
guys. We're still in the Cell arc. So by the time episode 4 here is airing, in the manga, we are at Goku firing off his Kamehameha, seemingly like he's about to fire it off at the Earth.
At the Earth. Oh,
how is that going to work out? I'm afraid to ask. Who knows?
He's crazy. He's going to destroy the... What's the point?
You'll have to read Dragon Ball to find out what happens next. And in the anime, in Dragon Ball Z side of things, we are in the episode before the iconic Uchiyama Goku looking back at Vegeta.
The big old green eyes. And
yeah, this is just when Goku and Gohan emerge from the Room of Spirit and Time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's
they
still
were so close.
Crisp because it's a Yamamuro thing.
And as promised, in the world of Backstreet Boys, they were all singing, they were live on concert singing I'll Be There, minus Kevin and Brian. They weren't yet a part of the group.
In 92? Is this
92.
real? Is this, hold on. Is this like, a bit or is this real information?
I don't do bits, man. I just tell the truth. I spit out hard facts.
So the Backstreet Boys originated in 92?
They weren't called the Backstreet Boys, but three of the main band members were already singing in the band.
What were they called?
They weren't called anything. It says, I'll Be There, 1992, Backstreet Boys, parentheses, before Kevin and Brian. That's all the information I have for you. I'm not going to sit here and do hours of research for you about the Backstreet Boys.
That's not in retrospect.
Doug, I love that you did any research on this.
We made like one joke before recording. It was just like, what was going on in the world of Dragon Ball? And Doug's like, what was going on with the Backstreet Boys?
No, I made the promise last podcast episode. You guys just didn't hear it, but it's there.
Oh, sure.
And I promise.
My joke is that it's in retrospect, or that it's not in retrospect. They were called Backstreet Boys, parentheses, before Kevin and Brian.
Kevin and Brian.
And they're like, we got to find a guy named Kevin and a guy named Brian to fill this out.
I mean, the way they were built, it might have been that way.
But did you want it that way?
Shut that. Move on to Give me trivia.
Guys, we got to move on to those tweets from other people. You know, there's too much stuff going on. So we've got a few here, and I refreshed it, and then it disappeared. So now I got to go back. Okay, cool. We're in business. So Ken put out the call. How are you liking the show so far? So do you want me to take this first one, or do you want to take it? I can't remember. We had talked about this before we recorded.
I'll take it. I'll read here for Jake, who says, and I'm going to start doing voices for people, right?
Oh, no.
How would Jake sound? So this is Jake. This is his own voice, Jay Lunar S.
I would love to know how these early Toonami license conversations happened, like down to a courtroom transcript. Who is/are the unsung heroes that realized Tenchi Muyo was the anime the U.S. audience deserved? I don't care if we have to paint every frame of Ryoko's. The kids need this. Anyway, episodes 3 and 4 are great little transitionary bits for the overall scope of OVA 1. We get just the right amount of time with letting our cast breathe. the writers flexing their chops on how much fun potential their toy box holds. And then the episode 4 drops that haunting teaser on us. Shout out to Spock for spending some time with the Galaxy Police.
Thank you, Jake.
Fantastic.
Well spoken.
Jake, so well, man. I imagine Jake actually wrote that with pen and paper, or pen and ink.
Yeah, calligraphy.
feather.
Yeah, and mailed that to you. Yeah, quill. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. If you want to hear Jake Mario Kart Nights, that's exactly how he sounds when he joins us.
It's true. 100%. So that was Jake. Now we got Jacob Sawyer. Who says, one of the things I enjoy about anime and manga is the way in which stories are told differently than we are used to in the West. I think the character interactions are really where the series shines, and there is a subversion in play here with the setting in every episode that makes them stand out. Possibly the network heads in play at the time saw the entertainment value in these more risque episodes and felt it was worth the effort to edit them to help them get aired here in the US. It's very funny that we're all talking about how that whole thing works, but I guess, Ken, you'd put here, welcome up to a pair of episodes that leaves us wondering how Tenchi Muyo was ever picked up to run on Cartoon Network in the first place.
I mean, that's an interesting, second look at it. That's a whole different look where it's no, they knew what they were getting into, but they thought it was worth it to do it.
It could be. And then if that's the case, it's just a product of right place, right time. Because even 2 years later, I don't think they would have picked it up. Even though Tenchi was still running on Toonami through 2002, I don't think they would ever looked at it and gone, yes, let's put this on our afternoon anime block.
Yeah, for the demographic that they have.
Yeah.
Pika Fan writes in, and Pika Fan, I'm apologizing for this voice in ahead of time. These episodes introduce me to heavy topics I understand could sour the experience of the podcast, so I understand if my comments are skipped. I will keep watching, but with the leniency of knowing the show is a product of its time. And I agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for writing with that accent, by the way. So let's get into Pika Fan's thoughts here.
Okay.
The plot wants me to wave off the absurdity of a victim, Ayeka, living under the same roof as her assailant, Ryoko, which is reinforced when Ayeka treats Ryoko like a bothersome sibling rather than an actual murderer. However, the plot then expects the audience to take the premise seriously when Ayeka feels genuine frustration towards her situation. Am I supposed to take the absurdity of this premise seriously or not? The author can't have it both ways without making Tenchi and Sasami look like heartless monsters. Ryoko's character is built around her charisma of knowingly being terrible. For that, I can accept her behavior towards the others for the sake of a better story. But Sasami and Tenchi don't have that same trait, and so their passive reinforcement of Ryoko's behavior disengages me from the plot. These are heavy topics I don't wish to discuss. I will quickly say that the grandpa house scene and Ryoko bath scenes do not entertain me as Masaki would like me to be. Tenchi, you're a good kid. Yeah, I think we're thinking about these things in two real world terms. And I agree, it's a product of its time, right? I don't necessarily know if this would have been written differently today, but we're in a fictional world, and we kind of have to separate ourselves out a little bit from that.
If you have a problem with this, you have a problem with Master Roshi, which there is definitely things with Master Roshi, but it's done in a way that it's like Ken always brings up. He gets his comeuppance. The pervert always gets his comeuppance. He's never successful with his assaults. And I feel like the thing with Ayeka and Ryoko is that with this episode specifically, they showed that what them going all out, I hate you, let's battle. I don't agree with you at all. You're a murderer and whatever. They went all out and there's no escaping it. They're literally trapped. They're kind of, equal in power, I guess.
I do want to say and point out again, you'd be don't take it serious. It's written as this thing's supposed to be funny, but audiences are watching that, and especially if you're airing on our Cartoon Network, being oh, it's okay to assault somebody even though it's the same sex as you or whatever, that it's not actually that bad. I get it. And so I just wanted to point out that does have consequences to it and how people perceive things. On the other hand, not even other hand, just I'm going to say with that same hand, I'm also this is funny and I like it and I grew up with it, and I'm not saying that it's okay. And now I'm slipping into that voice.
It's hard. It's okay. I had a hard time coming out of it.
It's true. But
I'm glad you did it though, so I knew when you were coming out of it to put in your 2 cents in, Ken, in the middle of it. I was okay, now
that was the idea in my head of doing this.
Also, legally, Ryoko is the victim here because she was free from the statute of limitations, and Ayeka was the aggressor.
Ayeka
that came
has
after
a
her anyway.
grudge. Yeah.
And truthfully, have we seen Ryoko kill anyone?
Right.
It's all hearsay.
We saw her
we're
sitting
being
there.
told.
She was laughing as Ryo-Ohki was blowing stuff up. And she looked like she just wanted to give Yosho a hug. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as her lawyer, I great
So
conversations.
Being a fan, I apologize again. But thank you for
I
writing
hope you
it.
enjoyed that voice. It's also in jest.
And thank you for writing that in, because we have just been talking about this as a goofy cartoon and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's good to keep these things in mind.
Definitely, yes, that has its issues, and we're not going to ignore it, glaze over it. It definitely is there.
Right.
Right.
It's not affecting my enjoyment of the show, but it is a thing that I want to keep in my other hand while I'm watching the show.
I mean,
in
we were
this
the
one
kids
on a tablet. I don't know.
We were the kids watching it, and none of us are like,
Yeah, that's another thing to remember. Doug, Randy, and I are all the same age. And we all watched Tenchi at the same time, the same age in 2000. And so for us today as 36-year-old men, looking back on this show that we watched when we were 12 or 13, it's hard to separate that out, right? We're still looking at the show as if we are that age, because that's how we came in.
right.
But it's interesting, and part of what's great about getting people who've not watched Tenchi yet is that you guys are coming at it with fresher eyes than we ever could.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, in terms of entertainment, where like you've seen people who are like, oh, I'm going to try watching Dragon Ball for the first time. And you're like, great, you're going to have a good time. And then they meet, Roshi, and they're like, what the absolute is going on? This is a kids show. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess I forgot about that. And it's like, you could forget about this all these horrible things that happened. Like, yeah, it just happened, and I was just like, sure, whatever, moving on. I just want to see Goku go get this next Dragon Ball.
Well, it reminds me when I used to watch the Kids React channel on YouTube, and how or teens or whatever reacted to Seinfeld and like their like jokes, and how they were presented the episode where they were like bringing up about gay people. And it's like, we're not gay, but there's nothing wrong with that. And the kids and teenagers of that time watching it were like, this is horrible. This is how could they show this? But like back in the day, it was very what's the word I'm looking for? It was very progressive to like talk about it on live TV, and like it actually brought the gay community into consciousness of. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, Randy?
That's because these kids on the Kids React channel have no frame of reference for Will and Grace, and they don't understand what TV was like before Will and Grace and what TV was like after it.
Right.
True. Yeah, it's good to have these conversations of like, here's what we remember, and how it's affected us, even though saying like, it didn't really do that. Granted, it's 3 people. It's not a great sample size for like how this whole thing shook out, and just like keeping that in mind, and maybe I'm blinded by my love for this show and the history that I have for it. Maybe we should have brought up like, by the way, here's some material that's going to be showing up, content warning. Sorry.
I think we mentioned last episode that this is a seinen series, not necessarily a shonen series. So
True.
I would like to think that no one who's 9 is ever watching the show, although we were 12 and 13, when we were watching it. It's just something to remember. And honestly, if you are uncomfortable with what you have seen in the show so far, there is stuff that is worse coming.
Trying to recall.
And it's one scene in particular I'm thinking of.
Episode 7?
Maybe is played for a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But even
is
then,
Washu involved?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I know exactly. Wow.
So now we know she shows up by episode 7. But,
well, I had asked, is it 7? And you seem to not answer. So
I'm sure. Oh, I couldn't remember exactly when it was, but I'm sure that when we get to it, that's something we will discuss in the moment too, because I'm not comfortable with it.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure it got cut entirely from Toonami, so I don't remember it
it's
at
also,
all from that.
It's a longer episode, so being like, what do we cut for time? And they see that, they're like, strike those 3 minutes. Like, absolutely.
Yeah. So honestly, if you're uncomfortable with it, we get it. And this is honestly, content warning. This might be your time to jump out. Mm-hmm. But we hope you don't. We hope you stick with us.
Right.
I think there's a
lot. Yes, there's a lot that this show has to offer that I think, I don't say makes that okay, but like if you're taking it for the amount of entertainment versus discomfort, I think that you're going to get, quite a lot of enjoyment, entertainment out of
like I enjoy
left.
how we're doing it now, where it's like, here are the things we like about it, and here are the things that we don't feel good about right now. Like this show
Right.
has the moments, but also it's good that we can recognize what isn't and should never have been cool.
Yeah,
no matter what time period it came out of.
absolutely.
It shows how much we've all evolved. It's great.
It's true. We're better than those 12-year-olds we were back then.
that little shit. Team Ryoko, dang it.
That's distressing. I've seen people say that they're actually Team Ayeka, and I can't. I don't know if we can be friends, quite honestly. That's right. I'm starting a rivalry here now.
Oh, no.
I'm going to stop that right there, and I'm going to instead thank you guys for listening, and we love interacting with you, keeping you in the conversation about one of our favorite little shows in the world. It's really, really great, and we're glad to have you along for the ride. You can post us at our Blue Sky. We're keeping it easy. It's just wegottapodcast.com, and you can always email us at wegottapod@gmail.com.
And you can find me at Jabaz Doug. Ken, where can they find you?
You can find me at detectivex.bsky.social. And Randy, where can people find you?
Oh, it's at saberbreaker.wegottapodcast.com over on Blue Sky as well.
So guys, as always, thanks for listening, and thanks for keeping us honest about some of the stuff that's in this show. And if you didn't like me doing voices, let me know. If you want me to continue it and start doing it in the main Dragon Ball episodes, also let me know.
Oh yeah, sneak peeks.
Yeah. So with that, guys, we'll catch you matinator.
Bye.